Before I settle down for the night, I like to try to do a little cleanup and take some moments to reset the space. It helps me to wake up feeling less overwhelmed and ready to start a new day. Tonight, I'm tackling the living room and kitchen so I can wake up to a clean and calm home. I realized when I was sitting here tonight, it had been a little bit of time since I've watered my plants, so I am getting to that, getting them all watered, and look at how beautiful my Christmas cactus has bloomed out. And the other one in the kitchen has bloomed out just as much. If you have a Christmas cactus and you cannot get it to bloom, the best thing to do is to give it no water, keep it in a cooler space, and bring it to practically the brink of death, and then start watering it and get it in the sun. It will start to blossom out. I've forced mine to bloom even in the middle of summer before. But generally I keep mine outside during the summer and I push it to the limit with it being out in the cold and then bring it in and just start watering it. And that's what happens. I am so in love with this flamingo plant that my husband got me for Mother's Day. The heart-shaped leaves, the flowers, everything about it I just absolutely love. So, we have a great community here, and I figured we'd do something a little bit different and maybe kind of fun to read the comments. In the comments below, I want you to tell me 5 things that you have never done. It doesn't matter what you tell me, just 5 things that you've never done. And I'm going to tell you mine. I have never held my license. Though I have driven a car a short distance, I do know how to make the car go forward, but I have never held my license. I have never in my adult life not been married. I have been married my entire adult life. That is 32 years of being married. I have never been tattooed. I have nothing against tattoos. I just do not want them on me because I change my mind way too much about things to have a tattoo and then decide in 6 months that I didn't really like it after all. Several of my kids are tattooed. Almost, I would say, all of them have at least one tattoo. I have never in my adult life not been actively raising a child. I have been raising children since the very beginning of my marriage. When we got married, my husband's daughter stayed with us. Most of the time she stayed with us up until she was 13 years old, and she was a baby. 18 months old when I married my husband. I have never been rich. I don't worry about being rich. We have enough money to live comfortably enough, and we're happy, and that's all that matters. But I have never been rich, not even as a child. We were always short on money, but you learn to live creatively and within your means. You guys always have the best ideas, so give me some for this. My ottoman is fabric all the way around it, including underneath. I need some ideas to make it so that I can slide the ottoman across the floor easily without eventually wearing the fabric down on the bottom of it. I'm thinking maybe like some kind of plastic sliders or something like that. What do you guys think? Are any of your children or grandchildren young enough to go out trick or treating this year? If so, what are they going to be? Bella wants to be a can of Dr. Pepper because Dr. Pepper is her absolute favorite soda. She's obsessed with it. So I am going to take a collapsible round hamper and cut some armholes in it and a hole for her head, turn it upside down, and cover it with maroon fabric and make her into a Dr. Pepper can. Tell me what your littles or your grandchildren are going to be. If you don't trick or treat, or if you trick or treat and then do something else, what are your holiday traditions? We like to come home after, go through the candy, and we like to make some hot chocolate and watch Goosebumps together. I think this year we may also be having a small Halloween party for the kiddos, just to be together after we go to the trunk or treat, because we don't go door to door, we go to our neighborhood trunk or treat. Lulu! Go! There's always a lot of comments about how I clean, or what I clean, or what should be cleaned, or what should be put away when you're done with it. And, just normal comments for a cleaning community. And I totally get that, and I am in no way offended by any of those comments. What I want to talk about is how I used to clean versus how I clean now. Very early in my marriage, we already had a child. Like I told you, my husband's daughter came with him in the marriage, and that was wonderful. And we ran a 21 rooming house in Lewiston. And we had two rooms that were joined together, and we used our room like basically a living room slash bedroom, and then we had another room for his little daughter. And I cleaned constantly. I was a new wife.
Oh, are you
and,
aggravated, Moses? I'm sorry.
Wanted to show that I had some homemaking skills, and I really honed in on those skills as a younger person. As we started having our stair steps of children, which he had 8 children with me, I honed those skills even more because I felt like if I stopped doing what I was doing, I would never ever catch up again. So I was constantly cleaning. Um, Very much was a pick up as you go kind of person, pick up as, whatever. And as I found as I aged and I got older, it's not so easy to be that person anymore. You get aches and pains and you're tired and, just all the things. So it isn't that I don't know what I should be doing or could be doing. It's more so that I have my own physical challenges now that I never had as a younger person. And I was told early on in my life that I would soon learn that it's not as easy when you age to do the things that you always did. And now I can really see the truth in that. You do have to slow down. You do have to give yourself some grace. And yes, some things here do get behind, but, I missed out on a lot doing the constant cleaning when my kids were growing up. I was constantly busy, and though we played and we did things, I could have done a lot more with them had I been not so obsessive with my cleaning. So I am learning with little miss to enjoy life and to get outside and to do all the things that are enjoying the moment, because the messes are going to be there regardless. So I'm okay with coming into a kitchen that needs extra cleaning if I was able to sit down and color, or I was able to sit down and snuggle up and watch a movie with my family or whatever, because that mess is going to be there, the queen isn't coming, and it's really always going to be okay. So to answer my own question, when I was younger, I was so on top of things it was scary, and as I've gotten older, it's slowed down some. Do I still clean? Do I even enjoy cleaning for the most part when I am cleaning? It's just getting that motivation and getting past your own self to be able to do it. Here's another fun little question to think about, and me and my family always talk about this. What would you do? The first thing you would think to do, or, just the first few things you would do if you won the lottery and you won millions upon millions of dollars. I have always told my kids that if this ever happened, that I would build a community of small, just normal homes, nothing extravagant, and I would put them inside of a gated community for my family to live in. It's always been kind of my dream to have a cul-de-sac with my family dotted in houses all around the neighborhood. I just think that would be the most wonderful and fun thing ever. My kids have always compared me to, or our family to the Connors, like to when Roseanne Barr was on, Roseanne. And it's always funny because, I am in some ways kind of quirky like she is, but in other ways, when my kids were growing up, I was a lot like Donna Reed. So I think if you could cross the two together, you would kind of have me. If you were a TV character, if who do you think you most closely resemble as far as somebody on TV? For those of you who are newer or have not yet heard the story or have forgotten the story, I'm going to tell you about how we came upon this house and ended up buying it. And we were formerly renters, and we rented from the same person for 9 years. When we rented from him the first time, we asked if it was going to be a long-term thing, and he said, "Oh, I've had this building for 25 years and you guys are set here, you don't have to worry about up and moving." And a year later he sold the building. Well, we went to him to see if he had anything else, and he had a house that was divided in half, and the upstairs was rented but the downstairs floor was not rented. So he had just finished renovating it and he rented it to us. So we went from one of his buildings to the other. Well, 8 years later, he was in our home fixing a fire alarm, and he got down off the ladder and he looked at my husband and he said, "You're going to be upset, but the building's been sold and the new owner's taking it over in the next 6 months, and you guys are probably going to have to vacate. And I looked at my husband, and for a minute, panic set in with me, and then it just went away. Even though we had a fairly big family still, I was not going to get up in arms. I knew that everything was just going to be okay. And I started looking for rentals. And at the same time that I was looking, my daughter was also looking, and we were looking together, and I had just exhausted every link I could possibly find. I had emailed landlords and made phone calls, and just there was nothing more to look at. And I sat there thinking for a minute, and I just randomly in Craigslist punched something in that was everything that I was looking for. And all of a sudden, this little house with a red roof pops up, and it's in Maine, and it is owner financed. And I laughed, and I told Chelsea, I said, "Oh, this is too good to be true." And she said, "Oh, well, you should email him." So I emailed him, and he got right back to me, and he said, "I will talk to you first thing in the morning. I'll give you a call." And sure enough, he did. And I talked my way into a house. It wasn't much of a house. It was definitely a fixer-upper, and it was not even as good as what was in the pictures. He insisted that we drive up and we come look at the house. It was 3 hours away from us. We drove up, and I walked in, and I'm going to tell you what, I just walked right back out. It was a mess. There were walls torn out. There were where people had started putting walls up. They were kicked in. There was just, it was dirty and run down, and the ceiling in the living room was missing. And I looked at my husband. I said, "Oh, this is a no-go." And he said, "Oh, let's just look around a little bit more, and whatever." And he was actually the one that talked me into taking it. And that's exactly what we did. We came here, he went to work on a potato farm, and I went to work on the house. I put in a floor in the bathroom, I put in the tub, and the sink, and the toilet. And I cleaned, and I painted, and did everything that you could imagine, including putting up drywall, insulating, all the things that we needed to do. I hooked up the pellet stove, and anything that I had to do within a very short amount of time to make it livable, that's exactly what I did. The one biggest surprise to us is when we came here and my husband had gone down in the basement, he swears that there was a hot water heater. And when we got here, there was none. So we had to quickly buy a used hot water heater and figure out how to get it hooked up, and that cost money that we really didn't even have to cut into other things. And just it was a process. And I'll tell you, my daughter at the same time bought a house in a few towns over, and she hadn't gotten up here yet. We got here before she did. And we stayed at her new house because hers was much more move-in ready. And she said, "Well, there's got to be something about the house." And I said, "Yeah, I'll tell you the good thing about the house is when we get into the car and we were driving away and I couldn't see it anymore." Because I was pretty upset with the condition of the house and how much work it needed, and really didn't know if I could follow through on the promises that I had made, that I could figure it out. But you know something? I made good on those promises, and the water's running, and we have a shower and a bath, fully functioning bathroom, and everything that we need. The next step that we need to do is, like I've said, we're going to do the ceiling in the living room and my office, and we need to do the front and back doors. But none of that is an emergency or makes the house unlivable or, whatever. So, it's a work in progress, and certain things have slowed down, and now we can take a little more time to get things done. And, we make little changes, like the hot water heater, the one we bought was used, and we upgraded it with a heat pump hot water heater. The appliances in here were terrible. We upgraded all of those. Um, Another small thing that I want to upgrade is my countertops, and on the back wall where I have my big shelf, I would like to put another set of countertops in and some more plugs so that I have more counter space and more storage space, which would be really nice. But when we got in here, yes, we had a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm pretty proud of how far we've come. So, our new kitten Max, every single night, climbs up on my bed and lays right in between my husband and I, up by our heads. Poor old Hammy has been shoved out of her spot by the tiniest little black kitten, and now she lays at the end of the bed, the other end, with a not so happy look on her face, but I think she'll adjust. Or they'll work it out one way or another. But the good thing is that he likes to sleep on my bed and every night comes to bed like clockwork. So that's really nice not to have him running around tearing up the house all night. One thing he certainly does like, though, are fingers and toes and feet. He's got the wonderful habit of chasing all of those. We try to play with him with just his toys, but he likes to sneak up on you and muckle on. He's a wild child, that's for sure. Sweet as can be, but a wild child, all on the same note. The other cats are adjusting to him pretty well. Hammy, if he gets too much up in her face, she will let him know that she's the boss by cracking him over the head with a paw. But besides that, they've all settled in really well, and there's been no real fighting, just a couple of hisses here and there, and, figuring out who's the boss. And of course, Max thinks he's the boss of all things, including climbing up my leg while I'm on the computer and getting up on my computer and walking on the keyboard and doing cat things. Whoever gave me the advice to you know, draw in the tiles on my back wall where I had ripped up some of the contact paper. Thank you. I actually took your advice today and I took a small piece of white contact paper that I had and I put it on the wall and then I drew in the tiles. So for now it matches without me having to spend any more money to buy more contact paper. So that worked out really well for me. So whoever that was, thank you. It doesn't match absolutely perfect, but it looks a lot better than it did.
Get down.
Now that I am remembering where I have put things in the kitchen, it's got a much better flow to it than it did before. It works out much better with the coffee maker near the fridge, near the cream and all that. And it is nice to have the baking area, though I have not used it yet, but I'm going to be soon. But it's nice to have it as mostly an open space. I do need to get that riser off there to open that space back up. And I've got to stop collecting junk on top of it. Another terrible surface habit that I have. But in all reality, it's much more opened up. The countertop is much better without it being cluttered up. It gives me more space to work, and that's always a big plus. On another note, I've got some kind of good news. I actually bought a different tripod for my cell phone, and it's a very heavy duty one, which oddly enough it's made by the company On, which I have been avoiding that tripod because I thought that it would be terrible, but it is actually super heavy duty and nice. And I also bought some microphones that I can wear on myself so that when I turn away from the camera, you guys should hopefully be able to hear me a lot better than you have been able to when I'm doing, speaking directly to you through the camera. So, 2 upgrades to the channel: microphones, a better tripod, and actually I just got my new phone today. I got my Pixel 9 Pro XL, and it is a wonderful phone. I absolutely love it. I'm sorry to all you Apple users. I'm not an Apple fan. I love Android. My husband and little granddaughter love Apple products. Just I don't. So, personal preference, in all honesty. But anyway, I'm gonna leave you to watching me scrub the sink and clean up a few more areas, and then I am going to, in this video, head up to bed. In reality, though, it is the next day, and I'm going to be getting supper started and getting another video started for all of you. So, I'll let you get back to watching everything, and I will talk to you tomorrow. I am working very hard to keep my schedule up with all of you, and I know that many of you really appreciate it, and that makes me happy, and it certainly makes it all worth it. That's it for tonight. Just a quick cleanup and some moments to reset. It feels so good knowing that I'll wake up to a tidy space in the morning. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more cleaning motivation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy cleaning.